This video is brought to you by CatBeast.com. Design your own custom snapbacks and hats.
Ladies and gentlemen, this weekend is a very, very big weekend in the world of professional wrestling as AEW presents its first major show of the new year in Revolution. And with Sunday's show, Tony Khan is guaranteeing a major announcement on Sunday night. A Hall of Fame worthy talent has just signed on with AEW that will make a major impact. This news has sent the community into a frenzy trying to figure out who exactly Tony Khan is talking about. A laundry list of names has been brought to the forefront, but my message to boss man Tony Khan on today's show is simply this. This announcement needs to deliver. I don't care who it is. It needs to deliver. Otherwise, us as a fan base will look at you and AEW as a disappointment. Never really to trust like that again. Also, WrestleMania news and when tickets go on sale for WrestleMania 37 and why Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard are not only holding information from the creative team, but the roster as well, as we are now 5 weeks away from WrestleMania 37. All this plus so much more right here on episode 367 of Off the Script. What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. It is Saturday, March 6th, 2021, and this is episode 367 of the podcast. We got a lot to go over, man. This is one of the busiest weekends of the entire year so far, and it's going to culminate with Revolution on Sunday nights. Might as well get this out there right now. I will be live on Sunday night YouTube. If you guys want my thoughts on Revolution for the post show, it's going to be happening live on YouTube immediately after the show goes off the air. Man, oh man, this announcement by Tony Khan is sending shockwaves through the internet wrestling community, man. All on Twitter. It's all you hear. Who is it? Laundry list of names, who it's going to be, who it should be, who it's not going to be. Everybody seems like a modern-day Columbo or Perry Mason. I know my old school detectives, man. My mom raised me right. It's unbelievable what's going on social media. And I have a message for Tony Khan today. That's the main topic, the main story of the podcast today. It needs to deliver. It needs to be something that people are legit going to be excited for. It needs to be something that is going to forward AEW into the future. And it cannot be WWE Legends. It can't be AEW relying on WWE Legends. That it cannot be. So we're going to go over what had happened on Wednesday, what Paul White said. We're going to try and uncover this. We're going to try and do some detective work of our own here on the show. But again, I want to thank you guys so very much for joining me. I got a ton of NXT news as well. I got a ton of WrestleMania news as well. The updated card as we see it right now for WrestleMania. Loaded show. I would not be surprised if we near 3 hours on today's show. I hope to God not, but I'm going to try my best to keep it at its usual 2 hours. But that's how much news I got, guys. But make sure you follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you guys go and hit up the New Critiques and Connoisseurs Twitter channel, as well as their YouTube. Everything you need for the new channel, for the CNC, Critiques and Connoisseurs. Make sure you guys visit the description down below of this very video. Right now, as you guys are watching this, the new episode of Critiques and Connoisseurs, episode 2, is live on their channel. Go and check it out. We got Ortiz from the Inner Circle. AEW superstar Ortiz is visiting Big Hodge and I, and we are drinking Screwball peanut butter whiskey, man. It is delicious. So go and check that out and leave some love, man. Critiques and Connoisseurs is heating up in the IWC. Not only that, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button to this very channel. We got a lot going on here all weekend long, every single week. Hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell for all notifications. If you guys want to support, you can certainly do that in a multitude of ways. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Make sure you guys go and get your t-shirts. Bonfire.com is the exclusive home of JD from New York and Off the Script. Go and get your masks. Mouthmasker.com/OTS. Go and check out all the other videos that you might have missed this week. Monday Night Raw review. You guys got the AEW review from Wednesday night, talking Cody and Shaquille O'Neal. And then SmackDown last night. Tons of stuff. And a lot of stuff to look forward to this weekend. So go and check those videos out. Again, links are down in the description of this very video. Hit that thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think about today's podcast. And today's show is sponsored not only by Cat Beast. Make sure you guys go get your embroidered hats, custom-made hats. Cat Beast is where it's at, catbeast.com. But also, Advanced GG. We are sponsored now by Advanced GG, the best in the online gaming community. We're going to go over them a little bit later. Newly partnered with them. Very excited to share that with you guys. So make sure you listen later on in the show while we talk about Advanced GG. You guys can save money on that. If you're big into Warzone, you guys are big into the competitive gaming scene, Advanced GG is where it's at. Let's start at the top, man. Got the latest on WrestleMania 37 ticket sales. This is from Fightful Select. Now, everybody's been hitting up my boy over at WrestleVotes, man, or boys. Might be multiple people in charge of that account. But WrestleMania 37 ticket sales are imminent. Now, WWE is expected to have 25,000 fans in attendance for each night of WrestleMania, April 10 and April 11th. I think they will exceed 30,000 on both nights, at least 30 for Vince McMahon. That stadium, I believe, holds about 75, 80. I think we get at least on both nights an overall number that is close to 75, 80,000 in Raymond James Stadium for WrestleMania 37. Now, WWE officials have considered the idea of having cardboard cutouts. At last, I gave you guys this news article on SmackDown's podcast and post show last week. Vince McMahon is not a big fan of that, but WWE officials did look at the Super Bowl and said, hey, we could work with this. We don't necessarily think this is a bad look. And WWE can make some money on the side as well, because the Super Bowl, the NFL, we're charging $100 to $150 per virtual seat inside Raymond James Stadium to have your image on a cardboard cutout. I think that makes sense. WWE can make up for all those ticket sales that they can't get this year with that route of cardboard cutouts. Now, Vince didn't like it. I don't know where he sits on that idea right now. It's still in play for WWE, but it's up to Vince McMahon. Now, it was reported last month that WWE was waiting to put tickets on sale because they and the stadium were still trying to figure out how to have fans attend in a safe manner for WrestleMania 37. Fightful Select and Sean Ross Sapp reported this week that the plan for tickets going on sale for the event is next week. It was added that there is a test event scheduled for this Friday to work out any of the kinks in the ticketing sales. Thus, it's possible once WWE does this test Friday, and has no issues, an announcement could be made shortly thereafter. A few weeks ago, the company told wrestlers that friends and family also were comped for tickets, and they would be severely limited or eliminated altogether because of protocol. So those comp tickets that were once available for the active roster, they may be available in severe limited numbers, or they may be eliminated altogether. So that is the latest there for WrestleMania 37. I will keep you guys posted on the podcast if and when they do go on sale, because I know a lot of people are trying to make their scheduling fit with WrestleMania. Content creators I know are going down to Florida for WrestleMania. Analysts, if they are able to get the tickets and set aside their schedule for WrestleMania, they want to do it as quick as possible, because the last I checked for myself, plane tickets were ridiculously priced just for Florida. So I will keep you guys updated on that. But as of right now, me, myself, to let you guys know, I'd love to go down there. I'd love to have a meet and greet. But if the price is not within my budget, I'm not really going to go to WrestleMania, because I'm not really attending WrestleMania. I'd pretty much be going there for you guys and everything that's surrounding WrestleMania in itself. But I will keep you guys updated on ticket sales, as I know there are many people that want to go and attend. And it will be a big deal. This is WWE's, hey, there's a light at the end of the tunnel situation. And WrestleMania is going to be the start of a brand new era in WWE. And this is why I said I'm surprised that the show has been booked the way it has been. And it's been treated the way it has been. This is legitimately the most important WrestleMania possibly ever. And WWE is seemingly taking it for granted like they do everything else. Now, I do have news on the card for WrestleMania 37. As you all know, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair is official. As you guys know, Roman Reigns and Edge is official. That is for the Universal title. Sasha will defend the SmackDown title against Bianca Belair. But what else is going on with WrestleMania? Now, as you guys have seen on Monday Night Raw, Bobby Lashley defeated The Miz to become the new WWE champion. The first time in 17 years Bobby Lashley has held the WWE title. Where that title sits and what night it sits on at WrestleMania remains to be seen. I have given my opinion every single week for the last month or so about this situation. Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley is not a WrestleMania main event match. It's not. It's an undercard match. It's a match, to me, that looks to be getting the Del Rio spot, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And that is either an opening match or a mid-card match somewhere on night one. It is not going on night two, and it's not main eventing night one. If Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley is the match, and we do not get Brock Lesnar involved to make it a triple threat, I'm not making that the main event. I'm giving Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's title the main event, because two things. One, it's a much bigger profile match than Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. Number two, it may legitimately be the only other time ever that the women get to main event a WrestleMania. So you might as well do it now, because it's not going to happen again. I could be wrong on that, but the way we see things now, it's not going to happen again. So right now, Roman Reigns versus Edge for the Universal Championship. We got Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bobby Lashley, I'm going to pencil in against Drew McIntyre. We don't know where Brock Lesnar is, if he wants to come back or not, for the WWE Championship. Lesnar makes that match main event. Lesnar makes that match make sense. I'm not really interested in Drew McIntyre chasing the WWE Championship. And if I have my way, I'm keeping the title on Bobby Lashley, because I think a lot of people are sick and tired of Drew McIntyre as the WWE Champion, and they want something new. And Bobby Lashley is a guy that I think a lot of people in the community, in the wrestling world, deem someone that deserves this run. That's just the way I see it. So we got the WWE title, the Universal title, and the SmackDown Women's title pretty much set. But the WWE title, I'm going to leave a little asterisk next to that in case Brock Lesnar wants to show up in Tampa Bay. The Raw Women's Championship more than likely will be Asuka defending the Raw Women's title against Charlotte Flair. That is a mistake. That is a mistake. I would leave Charlotte Flair off of the WrestleMania card. We do not need Charlotte Flair on WrestleMania. She doesn't make WrestleMania better. She doesn't make WrestleMania worse. In some sense, in my eyes, she does make WrestleMania worse because nobody is interested. Nobody's interested in Asuka versus Charlotte Flair. You might as well just keep her off the show. What I would do is have Rhea Ripley show up on Monday Night Raw, and I'm not an advocate for someone just immediately bursting onto the scene and then getting a title shot. I like things to make sense. I like them to deserve a championship match. But if you're giving me the option of Charlotte Asuka or Rhea Asuka, I'm going with Rhea Asuka. Simple. Or in worst case scenario, Asuka, Charlotte, and Rhea Ripley in a triple threat match. Again, I don't advocate for somebody bursting onto the scene to get a championship match, and I certainly don't advocate for multi-man or multi-woman matches at WrestleMania because I like a one-on-one contest for the title much better than a multiple woman or man match. Triple threat, fatal four-way, six-pack challenge, we've seen it all at WrestleMania. So either one of those things, I would accept. Rhea Asuka leaving Charlotte off the show. I don't give a fuck what she does. Sit home and recuperate and take a night off. Or Rhea, Charlotte, and Asuka in a triple threat. That's what I would do. So we'll see what happens. But they are really promoting Rhea Ripley on Raw. You gotta bring her up now. There's no reason to wait because Charlotte versus Asuka is a fucking bathroom break match for the Raw Women's Championship with only one outcome, and that is Charlotte regaining the Raw Women's Championship, and nobody wants to see that. The women's division on Raw is in fucking shambles right now, and Charlotte will make it much worse than it already is. How that's possible? Just leave it to Charlotte Flair. She'll figure a way out. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, if they go into the show as champions, which I believe they will defend the titles against Lana and Naomi. I don't really understand this. If you guys watched NXT on Wednesday night, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez are not the women's tag team champions. I don't really understand why. I also got news on NXT coming up potentially with women's championships of their own. Which, again, I don't see how that makes sense. William Regal is getting ready to announce a major groundbreaking announcement on NXT Wednesday night, which in itself is a big show. But I don't understand why we need two sets of women's tag team championships when the one set of women's championships that you got on the main roster is more than enough to supply the entire division. The fuck do you need more championships for? The more championships you add, the less value the other championships around it have. And what has the main roster done with women's tag team wrestling? Nothing. So what the fuck is the reason? I don't know how you look at that match and say, hey, Lana and Naomi versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler is a women's WrestleMania tag team title match. Why don't we just get Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez on WrestleMania? I mean, it fits into the criteria of said championships. Those championships float from brand to brand. They got fucked over. So come up with the story and have the title match made at WrestleMania and change the championships. Imagine that WrestleMania moment for Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai being on NXT, taking those titles back to NXT instead of coming up with another set of tag team titles for NXT specifically. I don't understand it. The Intercontinental title seems to be heading towards Big E and Apollo Crews. I'm all right with this. I'll even do the title change. Give Apollo the IC title. If that match is made, there's no way that Apollo is not walking out as IC champion. I'm all for that. I think that storyline is the second best storyline in all of WWE, and it's happening on SmackDown, where right now Roman Reigns is carrying that entire brand. So it's nice to see Apollo with this new heel turn and Big E carrying their load on SmackDown as well. I think it's great stuff. Then we got Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins, and I'm hearing that Cesaro may be involved to make it a triple threat match. We may be getting Cesaro versus Seth Rollins at Fastlane. So whatever happens there, Daniel Bryan might be involved in that. Now, the opening is there to where we see Daniel Bryan get screwed. I'm recording this before we watch SmackDown tonight. Daniel Bryan gets screwed out of the steel cage match because you all know steel cage matches never keep everybody on the outside. There's always some fuckery in these steel cage matches. But what if Daniel Bryan gets screwed at SmackDown during this steel cage match and doesn't get the match with Roman Reigns at Fastlane? And then we end up getting Daniel Bryan teaming with Edge against Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Or maybe the Usos. How great would it be if Roman Reigns doesn't even defend his title at Fastlane? It would fit right into his heel work. And Jey has been teasing pretty heavily that Jimmy is on his way back. Can you imagine a tag team match with Edge and Daniel Bryan against the Usos? The Usos doing Roman Reigns' dirty work? That sounds like a great Fastlane match to me. Actually, I booked that same scenario with Cesaro involved on last week's show. So that's the way I go about it. I wouldn't even have Roman Reigns defend the fucking title 2 weeks before WrestleMania. It just doesn't make sense. Fastlane in itself doesn't make sense. So that's what I'm looking at. Daniel Bryan gets screwed on SmackDown and then gets added to the Roman and Edge match for the Universal title at WrestleMania. Because that's the only way Edge is going to walk out of WrestleMania as the Universal Champion, by pinning Daniel Bryan. Roman, if that's a triple threat match, is not taking the pinfall. Bryan's only there to eat the pin, so Edge goes home happy and we get a happy ending. He's the Universal Champion. Then Roman can win it back the very next month. And then we get Bryan Roman leading into SummerSlam. That's just the way I do it. I wouldn't have Roman Reigns lose at all. If it's Edge and Roman, again, I have to tell you, I think it's a terrible booking decision creatively for Roman Reigns to lose that championship. There's nobody right now that has come along that is better than Roman. If Roman is the best at what he's doing right now on the brand that he is associated with, he should be the world champion. Enough of these old timers and people coming on in, getting championship runs that don't deserve championship runs. So that's the way I would do it. Triple threat, or Roman walks out as Universal Champion in a one-on-one match with Edge. But right now, we're looking at Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, Seth Rollins, possibly in a triple threat match on the undercard at WrestleMania. Everything else is pretty much up in the air. But as you see, not really main event worthy is the WWE Championship, the Women's Championship on Monday Night Raw, the Tag Team Championship. Not really looking like a solid WrestleMania to me, folks. It kind of looks like a disappointing WrestleMania, but that is the norm for WrestleMania every single year. It's usually one of the worst book shows of the entire year for WWE. So I will keep you guys updated on that, but that's where the top of the card right now is looking and feeling for WrestleMania 37 on night 1 and night 2. Vince McMahon is reportedly hiding WrestleMania plans from talent. Now, why would he do that when nothing is booked and we are now 5 weeks away from WrestleMania? Now, Ringside News is reporting that a memo was sent out to producers to tell them not to share creative details with any of the talent in regards to WrestleMania. There were also news articles floating around that stated that Vince McMahon or Bruce Pritchard must be notified before any information is shared with any of the roster or talent. So, if you're a creative writer, what this means is that you can't do your job as a creative writer. So, not only are you going through Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard to potentially not use your idea, because why would they use your idea? Joe Schmo, Billy, the fucking geek in creative, why would they use your idea, which is probably better than anything that Bruce Pritchard can come up with, when that idea is going to make Bruce Pritchard look bad? The only ideas that are going to get out there are Bruce Pritchard's ideas, because he's the one tickling Vince McMahon's left testicle and the right testicle, depending on the day. So not only that, but now you got to go to ask their permission to talk about WrestleMania plans with the talent that those plans involve. How does that make any sense whatsoever? Everybody's walking on eggshells because of this. Everybody is wondering what's going on. People that don't have WrestleMania plans, that usually have WrestleMania plans, don't know of any WrestleMania plans. They feel like they're probably left off the fucking show. I don't understand how any of this makes sense to anybody. Don't you want everybody in the know, in the know? Don't you want the roster that's going to be on the show to be in the know so that they, I don't know, develop some excitement on these fucking shows? I swear on my grandfather's tomb that you watch these shows on Monday and Friday night, and everybody seems to be going through the motions. There's no excitement there. The only excitement that I see really is from Bianca Belair. She's smiling from ear to ear about what is happening with her right now on the road to WrestleMania. Sasha Banks is smiling because she's the women's champion and she is wrestling somebody that I'm sure everybody in that locker room wants a piece of because she's great. Everybody else seems to be going through the motions. I don't really get it. So instead of withholding this information, why don't you relay it to talent to, I don't know, make a better locker room atmosphere? That's just from an outsider's perspective looking in. I wouldn't want to withhold any information from talent. I want them as excited as possible. Maybe they got an idea that could potentially make their story a little bit better. You're not really giving them the option to give you an opinion, which then leads to me telling you guys that the environment in WWE is very militant. It is very draconian. They don't want anybody knowing anything. They don't want to hear anything from anybody because it's their way or get the fuck out. You want to be on Mania? We'll tell you when you're going to be on Mania and what you're doing. You don't like it or you got a fucking problem with it, get the fuck out. That's a fucked up mentality to have. I'm sorry. It really is. Now, with the memo to not share any information with talent, this is another way of restricting information backstage to who that information needs to go to. It also cuts out superstars from giving their input, like I said. So, Ringside News also learned that members of the writing team were told that they need to check with Vince McMahon or Bruce Pritchard about what talent are allowed to be told even on the day of a show. How does that create a welcoming environment? You want your talent to show up to a taping or a live show that very same day and not know what the fuck they're doing? Don't you think they would be better off prepared before they get to the venue? Instead of stressing about what I gotta memorize, what I'm gonna do, what do I gotta do with this guy, and how the match is gonna be, and what I gotta say via this promo directed towards that guy. It's unreal. A tenured member of the creative team with very close information concerning the situation told us at Ringside News, and I quote, "The lack of information the writers now have makes the writers and producers look like complete idiots." End quote. Well, I mean, not only do they look like complete idiots, it's not really a good look on Bruce Pritchard either. Because like I said from the very beginning, this guy is not for you. He's not for the creative team that he runs. He's not for the roster. He's not there to be anybody's friend or have that, situation that potentially comes up with him being there, him giving his shoulder for the roster to lean on and cry on and to express their frustrations. He don't give a fuck. He doesn't give a shit. Bruce Pritchard is a cancer. He is the deep-rooted cancer that is the main problem of why these shows are so terrible. Because not only do you got Vince McMahon, but now you got Vince McMahon being backed up by somebody who is pretty much Vince McMahon Jr., Vince McMahon 2.0. So now you got double the problem with Bruce and Vince running the show instead of just having Vince McMahon run the show and then somebody underneath him that is going to give him lip. Hey, man, this doesn't work. Or, hey, Vince, we should push this guy. Or, hey, Vince, this doesn't make sense. Or, hey, Vince, maybe we should get WrestleMania plans out there so that everybody knows what the fuck they're doing and it generates some excitement in the locker room. I don't really get it. I don't know who is running a company and doesn't want their staff involved. It just seems like everybody is not important with the way that they're handling things. They don't want anybody involved. And if nobody is being involved, then that roster is going to deem themselves, maybe we're not as important as Vince McMahon thinks we are. So why the fuck am I even here? All of this stuff toppled on top of one another is just another thing that everybody needs to keep in the back of their mind. If you're employed with that company, just put it on the list of things to, take a look back at and say, hey, this is why I'm leaving. They did this to me. They're doing this. This is the atmosphere backstage. Just check it off. Boom. So when you contemplate whether you want to stay or you want to go, you look at this list and say, hey, on this day, they withheld information about me being in WrestleMania. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing for WrestleMania until 2 weeks before the show. The biggest show of the fucking year. The biggest WrestleMania potentially in WWE's history. 2 weeks. Just take a look back at it and wonder why you opted to leave WWE at the end of your contract. Superstars can't have any real feedback because a vast majority don't know what the hell is going on. This is a frustrating and confusing situation, to say the least. So Ringside News has given you that from the creative team member that is in the know there. Lack of information makes everybody look like complete idiots. Ringside News adds that this policy essentially eliminated feedback from talent in regards to their angles. Talent feedback was previously considered during the creative process, but that is no longer the case. Basically, this is being done to avoid leaks about the WrestleMania card and plans for the show. A WWE source said that, and I quote, very few talents know where they're headed for WrestleMania. This edict is said to have a lot of the talent on edge, and that the work environment is at an all-time low morale. End quote. Now, with there being so many people on the roster, more of the talent will be left off WrestleMania, so not knowing what the plans are is a real concern for many. So Vince, at the end of the day, is upset about main event plans leaking for WrestleMania. All you have to do is watch the fucking show. It's not that difficult to figure out. When exactly are you going to get the plans out there for WWE and their title matches and whatever else is happening on the show? Like, we didn't know Bianca Belair was going to challenge Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. You withheld that information 3 weeks following the Royal Rumble. Meanwhile, everybody knew coming out of WrestleMania that was going to, or the Royal Rumble rather, that was going to be the match for WrestleMania. You withheld that information from us, even though we knew it already. And WWE, the reason why they gave The Miz clearly is lining up with this report. They want to stop leaks. So they gave The Miz the WWE Championship in an undeserved run to throw people off? So you're throwing people off with situations and creative ideas that don't make sense and make WrestleMania's road that much worse? To prevent leaks. Instead of doing what is right and something that makes sense. If you followed the road that makes sense, it doesn't matter if it's predictable or not. It would have made sense and it would have created better television. I don't give a fuck if it's predictable or not. If it's good, it's good. Whoever said predictable is bad. I don't understand why you're not booking WrestleMania to be the best card possible. How do you look at that card and say, that's the very best I got for WrestleMania? You can't. You can't. That's a card being formulated because Vince is afraid of plans leaking out. Let them leak out. Who gives a fuck? The more plans are out there, the more excitement there will be around WrestleMania. And maybe people will actually venture off into COVID County to go attend this fucking piece of shit show. Unreal. So the story about main event plans leaking and why Vince McMahon is withholding information is correct. It's accurate. This is according to WrestlingNews.co. They reached out to a WWE source and they got this response. And I quote, yes, this story is accurate. Vince was upset when word got out about the main event for WrestleMania being Edge and Roman Reigns. I think that was the moment when he decided to not clue in the wrestlers on future plans. End quote. The news about Edge and Roman Reigns headlining the show got out first in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter before Edge announced his plans at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. The source also noted that there was unhappiness about the Miz's plans for Mania leaking out, since that gives away to the fans that he will be dropping the title soon, since he currently is planned to be in a tag team match on the show with Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. As of this report, the two matches announced only are Reigns and Edge, and Sasha defending against Bianca Belair. Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley seems likely, but we don't know what is going on with Lesnar. And then obviously the Damian Priest Bad Bunny match against Miz and Morrison. Asuka versus Charlotte, the women's tag team match for the titles, and Daniel Bryan, Rollins, and Cesaro's plans. Those are only rumored at this point. I don't get it. None of this really makes sense. They're making a big deal about absolutely nothing. They're making a big deal about absolutely nothing. I don't know why you don't want plans leaking out. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Watch the show. It's not that difficult to watch and figure out what the fuck is going on. That's why I'm here. Unbelievable, man. At the end of the day, that locker room morale going into the biggest show of the year, the most important WrestleMania of all time, potentially, should be at an all-time high instead of it being an all-time low. What an awful fucking place to work, man. Every time I read stories like this to you guys and I report stories like this, it just boggles my mind how things operate there. It really just fucking doesn't make any sense. Unreal, man. Bruce and Vince have got to go. They have got to go. Speaking of WrestleMania and WrestleMania week, these two news articles are pissing me the fuck off, man. Now, we all know NXT is just not the same as it used to be. There is a clear drop-off in quality when it comes to NXT. I'm not saying that NXT is a bad show, but it doesn't embody what we fell in love with in the beginning at 1 hour on the WWE Network. Even when they moved to the USA Network, in those early couple of episodes, it still greatly felt like NXT. I don't know if it has to do with something going on creatively in the back, maybe a power struggle of sorts, somebody was removed, main roster influence. We don't know if Vince McMahon has his thumb on the pulse of NXT more than he used to. We don't know. I'm not blaming the pandemic because that's always going to be the number one as to why NXT doesn't feel the same. None of these shows feel the same. AEW doesn't feel the same. NXT doesn't feel the same. The main roster doesn't feel the same, even though those quality of shows would still be the same that we're getting with live fans. So, I mean, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about NXT and AEW. You see it. The fans are needed. So, without me mentioning the pandemic, it's the overall creative and the feel, the direction of the show, the quality of what you see on NXT. The commentary, Morrow not being there, absolutely killed the essence of this show. Mauro Ranallo was the heart and soul of NXT, and now with Vic Joseph there, it just doesn't sound the same. So now you're mixing the already terrible fucking creative that we potentially are getting from the main roster, kind of bleeding into NXT. So you're not feeling the same as far as creative direction, and now you're not sounding the same. That's a double whammy, folks. That's something that I don't want to be a part of. Now, with WrestleMania week coming up, there were rumors that WWE could potentially put an NXT World title match on WrestleMania's card, whether it's night 1 or night 2. Balor versus Cross would absolutely feel like a WrestleMania match. That's not happening. WWE might have leaked a potential takeover show for WrestleMania week happening on that Thursday before SmackDown. So that would be April 8th. Don't know where it would emanate from. Maybe somewhere in Tampa. Maybe a small venue of sorts. Maybe out of the CWC, the Capitol Wrestling Center. I have no idea. But WWE is now talking about a potential takeover show WrestleMania week. What's so wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. But now, in a follow-up to the rumored leak of TakeOver happening WrestleMania week, WWE is now talking about a possible 2-night TakeOver event for WrestleMania week. You guys clearly do not learn. Do not learn. One of the main things about the main roster and why it is suffering immensely is because there's too much of it. There's just too much product and too much programming. Now you want to add 2 takeover shows? How many times do I have to tell you that it's quality over quantity and not the other way around? So you mean to tell me instead of getting a traditional 2.5 hour, 3 hour takeover. Now we're going to get 2 3-hour takeovers potentially instead of 5 matches, maybe upwards towards 10 matches. You want to see 2 potential takeover shows emanate from the Capitol Wrestling Center? And why are we getting takeovers in the middle of the week? Is NXT going to get a takeover on Wednesday night with commercials? Is that what you want? Doesn't really sound like a fucking takeover to me. If you go and do takeover on Wednesday night to compete with AEW on USA Network, it's not a takeover. If you do takeover on the WWE Network like a takeover should be, then it's somewhat of a takeover. But I am not interested in seeing 2 takeover shows. I'm not. I don't know why you want 2 takeover shows, one with commercials and then one without commercials. At that point, I'm going to go right back to the AEW fucking well and say, that's a part of the AEW effect. Hey guys, it's our last fucking week on USA Network before we move to Tuesday nights. We got to go out with a bang. Spare me. If you do 2 takeovers, one being on USA Network, in my eyes, too much programming, quantity over quality, and it's a part of the AEW effect. And third, and probably most importantly, you're devaluing the takeover name. I don't want you to be literal in the takeover name. You don't need to take over much. Just do what you need to do as far as presenting a fucking takeover. How many people loved the last takeover? That was the best takeover since NXT TakeOver Portland last February. Now you want to go and give us 2 takeovers? PW Insider is reporting that NXT will hold a takeover on April 8th. This is something that the WWE gave away already if you tried to cancel your subscription. There's also been talk about having a 2-night takeover event. There's been talk of the show being the first ever 2-night takeover with part 1 airing on WWE NXT TV on the USA Network on Wednesday, April 7th, and then part 2 continuing the next night on the WWE Network rather. But with a month to go, that idea could change or potentially evolve. I think that's a terrible idea. That is a terrible, terrible idea. I don't know who's going to what. What are you going to give us, the weakest of the takeover card on free TV, and then you're going to load up the Thursday show with what should really be on the takeover? You guys don't have that much talent on the show or on the NXT roster that people even care about to see on 2 nights. So what the fuck are you doing? All of these things lined up and thrown into a big fucking pot. This is the recipe for NXT's disaster. Not only are you getting some of that main roster influence bleeding into the brand, but now you're adopting situations and you're adopting ideas that the main roster has used to make their shows terrible, and now you're doing that and making your show terrible. I don't really get it. Sounds like NXT doesn't know what the fuck they need to do anymore. Sounds like somewhere along the way, the real balls of NXT were lost. Whether that is someone got fired and we don't know, maybe somebody new took over the writing team, I don't know. I don't know anybody in that fucking company that works on that brand on a weekly basis that's looking at this report and thinks that's a good idea. If you do, you probably don't even fucking deserve to be there. We don't need NXT to deviate away from what NXT meant to us 3 years ago. It's gone. We haven't seen it since. You want to go and move further and further away from that? Just give me one takeover. In fact, I won't even have takeover during WrestleMania week. Who wants to watch something on a Thursday? Just save it for after WrestleMania. May or June would suffice, even better. The fuck do you need something during WrestleMania week when we already got SmackDown, WrestleMania on Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday Night Raw? You gotta add NXT on Wednesday and Thursday? Then AEW on top of that, and Raw? Overkill. Do you want people to be excited for WrestleMania? I would love to be excited for WrestleMania, but I don't want to be burnt out by the time I get there. Just do what NXT does. Operate on your own and make a takeover show worthy of being a takeover show away from the main roster and something that makes sense and something that we all are invested in. It's about time NXT starts to get that investment from the fans back that they lost when they moved to the USA Network, because right now it ain't looking good, even when you're about to move to Tuesday nights. Get NXT back to being the NXT we love. I don't give a shit what you got to do. Give me that heart and soul, because right now it's dead and flatlined. Let me tell you something, man. I think a lot of people who watch this show on a weekly basis and listen to me speak every single week know that I would never give you guys anything that I do not think you could benefit from. I would never give you guys anything that I don't specifically use on an everyday basis and something that I don't believe in. Today, I'm very proud to announce that today's sponsor on Off the Script is the newest sponsor of the show. And now I want you guys to welcome them to the OTS family. That is Advanced GG. This is their energy strawberry shortcake, 100% all natural, 100% natural caffeine, made from green tea. Now, if you guys have heard of Advanced GG, I'm sure you've heard of their other competitors out there in the gaming realm, these energy drinks, these companies that are majorly backed by esports. Advanced GG is the only one that is clinically proven to work and made by scientists. This is all natural stuff. Whether you guys are big into the gaming realm, I know a lot of the Destiny content creators use this and are backed by this. I know a lot of people that are in the competitive gaming scene that play Warzone and Call of Duty, Valorant, and all that type of stuff, Apex Legends, they use Advanced GG. I'm not a big competitive gamer, but what I do is I have an incredible work ethic and I need to be on all the time. I've been using Advanced GG for the last month. And let me tell you something, man, where coffee doesn't work naturally how I used to get it, Advanced GG has gotten me through some of those terrible Monday Night Raws. They've gotten me through SmackDown. They've gotten me through recordings like this, no question, man. I feel great. Every single vitamin that you need on a daily basis, Advanced GG has. You guys can use this for gaming. You guys can use this for fitness, whether it's pre or post-workout. You guys could use this on your way to work to give you that energy boost throughout the entire day. 3 to 6 hours of energy and endurance with no crash. You guys have no filters, no chalky aftertaste, and you guys have a healthier, more effective, better tasting alternative to those sugary energy drinks. AdvancedGG.com. You guys are going to use code SCRIPT to save 10% off. You guys can go and get this today. Link is down below. I want to thank them for not only being the newest family member of the podcast, but sponsoring today's episode of Off the Script, guys. Go and get yourself some Advanced GG Strawberry Shortcake. I know that's got a lot of people's names written all over it. I love it. Go and get yours today. Go and get yourself some Advanced GG today, man. The stuff really, really works. What needs to work is AEW's big announcement. AEW's big announcement needs to work. There are two, in fact, major announcements. There's one announcement with somebody else joining the company in the Revolution ladder match, which is different than what I am going to be talking about here. That ladder match, surprise, in my honest opinion, is going to be Ethan Page. That's just me. That's my prediction on the ladder match. This announcement is going to be a Hall of Fame worthy announcement, something that's going to shake the foundations. I hate when they say that. Shake the foundations of AEW. This is from me to Tony Khan. I love everything that Tony Khan has done with AEW. This is not me lobbying for a fucking job. This is not me being an AEW shill. I've criticized AEW on a multitude of occasions, whether it's some of their matches, some of their women's matches, the women's division, the commentary, so on and so forth. The Matt Hardy situation, the way that was handled, so on and so forth, man. AEW is not immune to the criticism of JD from New York, okay? But Tony Khan, at the end of the day, won Booker of the Year, which made a lot of people salty. He won Promoter of the Year, which made a lot of people salty. Let me tell you something, geeks. Dave Meltzer didn't vote for Tony Khan to be Promoter of the Year and Booker of the Year by himself. It was readers of The Observer. Now, are they easily influenced? Yes, of course they are. But Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez didn't vote Tony Khan. I'm telling you that Tony Khan deserved the award, or whatever award it was. It could have been anybody's fucking award for Booker and Promoter of the Year. He did a better job than Vince McMahon. Now, I'm not saying that Vince McMahon didn't do something right in the entire year. Clearly, he signed off on Roman Reigns' heel turn. So something went right. Something on what was a miserable year for WWE. But Tony Khan has done a fantastic job with the way he's handled AEW. Not perfect. Nobody's meant to be perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. But he's done a great job. I'm telling you this as a fan. From fan to promoter, fan to company. AEW has to deliver on this big announcement. Otherwise, it will, A, lose trust in AEW, lose trust in Tony Khan. It needs to deliver because of the hype surrounding it. Anything that is less than will be seen as a disappointment and a failure. And the options are very few and far between. They are very, very, very limited at this point going into Revolution. Now, I will say this. The fans, they are their own worst enemy. You people out there, man, you have fucking fabricated shit that will ultimately leave you disappointment in the end. I got people hitting me up. Oh, it's CM Punk. Oh, it's John Cena. Oh, it's Christian Cage. It's Brock Lesnar of all fucking people. Guys, all you are doing is creating a scenario in your head, and you're going to take that scenario into Sunday, and when that scenario doesn't happen, you're going to be disappointed. That's not fair to Tony Khan. That's not fair to AEW. Stop assuming. Stop guessing. Because you're only going to leave yourself disappointed. But it needs to deliver. And their talent pool right now that is not contracted to AEW is very thin. It needs to be a big star. It needs to be somebody that legitimately is going to change the game for AEW. AEW has promised a huge signing, and this will be announced at Revolution, and it might well have just taken on a life of its own. This might have backed Tony Khan into a fucking corner. Tony Khan might have been so excited about what was going on here that it legitimately was a snowball rolling down an icy mountain. And now that snowball is going to demolish half of a fucking town. And it's not going to be pretty. There's going to be a lot of casualties. There really is. Paul White. Let's start at the top. Paul White made his first AEW appearance on Dynamite this week. The former Big Show. No more BS for Paul White. No more BS for Paul White. Said he had some big news. He announced that AEW has landed a Hall of Fame worthy signing, and they will be revealed at Revolution. Tony Khan has since, I guess, backed up Paul White's comments, labeling the signing to be a huge, huge star. He used two huges. That doesn't really leave many people out there, to be quite honest with you. Who's a huge, huge star that is Hall of Fame worthy? Meaning, the way I read that and the way I interpret that is that he's Hall of Fame worthy. He's not exactly in the Hall of Fame yet. A Hall of Fame yet. White and Khan's comments have sent wrestling Twitter and the IWC into a fucking frenzy, unlike anything I've seen in recent memory. Fans have been combining all these different ideas together with each other. They've been coming up with lists of people who they think it's going to be, who it has to be, who it should be, who it's not. They're looking for anything that they could really attach themselves to. Others have created, like I said, a short list of stars who might fit this description by Paul White and Tony Khan. This has led some of those people making short lists and tweeting wrestlers if they are the unnamed superstar, such as CM Punk and Batista, who have been under the spotlight via fan questions on social media already. As soon as the announcement was made, people started to reach out to CM Punk and Dave Bautista, our own Stephen Vandelli, an avid listener of the podcast, a VIP, someone who's on my Twitch and my YouTube live streams every single day that I'm on here. He tweeted Batista, and he actually got a reply back from Dave Bautista. I will read that in just a little bit. Now, the key phrase that many people are latching themselves to from Paul White's initial announcement is Hall of Fame worthy. They're also hanging on to the fact that he mentioned evolution and not revolution. That's where the Dave Bautista comments and the Dave Bautista opinions started to really fast-track themselves. Now, unless the veteran misspoke, unless Paul White misspoke, that implies the signing is yet to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, like I mentioned. Hall of Fame worthy. That doesn't mean that they are in the Hall of Fame yet, but they are absolutely deserving of such an honor in a Hall of Fame. Now, fans thinking this might finally be where we see CM Punk make his full-time return to professional wrestling and say, fuck you to the WWE. People are talking about CM Punk. It's also got some people speculating that Brock Lesnar might be about to sign a new contract, but not with WWE, with AEW. Now, the idea of Lesnar signing for whatever amount of money with AEW was first talked about when WWE removed his merchandise from WWE shop after WrestleMania last year. Brock has not been seen since. He's not been seen or heard from since then. WWE merely moved his merchandise off the shop because he was no longer contracted to World Wrestling Entertainment. But that doesn't mean he's going to go venture off and do something else with some other promotion. I do think at the end of the day, Brock Lesnar is very loyal to Vince McMahon. He also loves his money. And I would not be surprised if he ends up joining AEW or a rival wrestling promotion, in this case, the second biggest promotion outside of WWE in the entire world. Now, the idea of Lesnar signing with AEW obviously came about since then. Now, many of those fans feel like it might actually happen before the end of this week. Again, all speculation. All of this speculation poses a big problem for Tony Khan. If the signing isn't one that makes a huge splash, not only in the world of professional wrestling, but for AEW, if the signing does not meet the hype, or someone along those lines, like a Punk, a Cena, or a Lesnar, the backlash from fans during this show will be disappointing. They will deem Tony Khan a failure. They will deem AEW a failure and not able to be trusted again when situations like this arise. Now, as far as everybody else in the IWC naming different people on who it could be, I will say this. I'm going to break things down for you the way I see it. Brock Lesnar. I do not see it being Brock Lesnar. I don't see Brock Lesnar joining AEW because Paul Heyman is still with the WWE, and I don't think it would be a good look for Paul Heyman if Brock Lesnar goes and joins AEW. Because if I am mistaken, I could be. If I am mistaken here, someone please reach out to me and tell me that I'm wrong. But I am under the impression that Paul Heyman does all of Brock Lesnar's dealings. Brock Lesnar is signing a new deal. If Brock Lesnar wants a match with this, or if Brock Lesnar's creative is going to go in a certain way, Paul Heyman is there, and everything needs to be something that Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman correlate with, back and forth. I don't see this being Brock Lesnar. I just don't. Brock Lesnar wants a short schedule, a schedule that's going to be for Brock. WWE's going to give him whatever he wants. If Tony Khan is offering, you don't think if Brock went to Tony Khan and Tony Khan offered him this money and WWE heard about that, or Brock went to Vince McMahon and said, hey, Tony Khan's offering me this, you don't think Vince McMahon's going to fucking match Tony Khan or even go greater than Tony Khan for Brock Lesnar? Folks, you got to be mental if you think Brock Lesnar is leaving WWE side. It may not be because Brock Lesnar is loyal. It just may be because Brock Lesnar loves money. And he's going to go where the money is. I just don't see Vince McMahon not shelling out the money for Brock Lesnar. And again, that Paul Heyman factor is a big deal in my honest opinion. CM Punk. I've always had it in my mind. I've always had a vision of CM Punk joining AEW. And I still think that is the case. If this is Punk, that's the only name, in my honest opinion, that legitimately would make sense. He's not tied to WWE. He's got every reason to say fuck you to WWE. And CM Punk's name value, even though it was a little diminished by joining WWE Backstage, people are still clamoring to see him in the ring, especially now with this forbidden door opened. That gives Punk the opportunity to have the final chapter of his career written the way that he wants, in a rival promotion against talent that he will never see in WWE. If Punk goes to WWE, which I don't think is the case anymore, I think we've long sailed away from that idea. The only person I want to see against CM Punk in the WWE, two guys, in fact, Daniel Bryan, which should have been the WrestleMania 30 main event for the world title, and Roman Reigns. A match with Roman Reigns, the way Roman Reigns is carrying himself and SmackDown now as Universal Champion with Paul Heyman by his side, Punk comes back. I mean, it writes itself. I don't need to go over why. You guys should already know. That's it. There's nobody else on WWE's roster I want to see against CM Punk in a meaningful match. That's it. You can give me the Johnny Garganos and the Seth Rollinses and the Cesaros and whoever else you want to throw out there. Punk would come back for a major payday, but there'd be no meaning behind it. WWE would be using him for his remaining name value to benefit themselves, but what is Punk getting out of it? Money, yeah, but fulfillment. A lot of these guys are joining AEW because of monetary reasons and creative fulfillment. I don't think Punk is going to go join WWE when that creative fulfillment is much more valuable to him in AEW. I just don't see it happening with WWE. So if Punk is the guy, that's the only name out of everybody that people have listed that's going to make a true impact and somebody that fits the criteria of Hall of Fame worthy. Is it Punk? I'm 50-50 on it. I do think CM Punk is in Tony Khan's back pocket. I do think that if Punk comes back, it will be with AEW. I think if Tony Khan does have CM Punk, I don't know what he's waiting for. The only thing I could possibly think of is Tony Khan wants Punk back when there's a venue full of 14,000, 15,000 screaming fucking people in Chicago. That's going to make a difference. That's going to be like, the game has changed. That moment right there. No matter if you're a Punk fan or not, that's the moment right there. I just don't envision Tony Khan bringing CM Punk back in Daly's place with 1,100 people. So I'm 50-50 on it. Maybe he's got Punk in the pocket and doesn't want to sit on Punk anymore because he knows they need to do it now. For whatever reason, with this Forbidden Door partnership with Impact and New Japan happening, Punk may be a vital part of this planning. How many guys out there are clamoring to see, how many people out there are clamoring to see Omega and Punk? I mean, I know I am. Punk is 50-50. Lesnar, absolutely no shot. CM Punk, 50-50 on it. The other name is John Cena. I don't see John Cena doing a WrestleMania commercial for WWE only a month and a half ago and then joining AEW. John Cena, his entire shtick is loyalty, hustle, and respect. Loyalty, hustle and respect. The hustle part might not fit in here with him leaving WWE, but John Cena has hustled his way to the top. His work ethic is bar none. Loyalty and respect, that would go against everything that John Cena's character is. He won't be able to use those catchphrases in AEW. John Cena is a company guy. We also said that about Hulk Hogan, but he ended up joining WCW. But this is a different time, back when Hogan joined the NWO and joined WCW. I don't see John Cena betraying WWE. John Cena also doesn't need WWE, which is a reason why a lot of people are thinking that it's John Cena. John Cena doesn't need WWE. WWE needs John Cena. AEW could benefit using John Cena. John Cena also doesn't need AEW. But I don't see John Cena leaving Vince McMahon's side. I just think that's absolutely ludicrous to even think about. I don't see it. Not in 2021. I'm sorry. Lesnar, no. Punk, 50-50. John Cena, absolutely not. He's in the Lesnar camp. The other one is Dave Bautista. The other one is Dave Bautista. Now, Vandelli actually tweeted Dave Bautista and then added me in the tweet. And I seen this and I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, I'm surprised he got a fucking reply back from this guy. Paul White said evolution instead of revolution on Wednesday's Dynamite. Hall of Fame worthy talent. Evolution is one of the greatest stables in modern WWE history. Batista is not yet in the Hall of Fame, which is kind of a gray area. He's supposed to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year virtually during WrestleMania weekend. He was supposed to be inducted with fans in attendance last year at WrestleMania. It did not happen for obvious reasons. So he fits the criteria. We got this evolution nugget of information out there instead of revolution said by Paul White. And we got the Hall of Fame worthy talent fits into Dave Bautista's criteria as well because he is a Hall of Fame worthy talent, but not yet in a Hall of Fame. Not yet in a Hall of Fame. So Vandelli asked Batista if he would be the surprise. He says, wait, Paul White said evolution instead of revolution. Was that on purpose? He says Hall of Fame worthy too. So I got to ask at Dave Bautista, just curious to see where you will be this Sunday. Batista responded with, and I quote, they're going to have to come up with another word that's used specifically for professional wrestlers who actually mean it when they say they're retired. Currently, the word retired has zero credibility by professional wrestling standards. End quote. I don't understand why people think it's Batista. He seems pretty dead set on staying retired. He got his match with Triple H at WrestleMania. That was it. That's all he wanted. Give me what I want. They gave him what he wanted. That would be a slap in the face, not only to WWE, but Triple H as well. I don't think Dave Bautista is the man behind this huge, huge announcement. I think Paul White made a mistake saying evolution. I think the nerves got to him being out there in front of a live audience on a different show that's not Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. I think the nerves got to him. I don't think it's Dave Bautista because of that respect and loyalty issue. I don't think he needs to do anything in the world of professional wrestling. And exactly what would Dave Bautista do coming into AEW that you're excited about? I'm a big Batista guy. I was more of a Batista guy after he retired and came back than I was when he was originally there. But I don't see him fitting into AEW's mold. I don't. Lesnar? No. Cena? No. Batista? No. Punk? 50-50. Then we got Christian Cage. Christian Cage is another one out there that is being thrown around as far as speculation goes. Dave Meltzer discussed what AEW has in store for Revolution and the fact that Christian might just be that big surprise. I don't think he is, even though Dave said he might be that big surprise. Raj of Wrestling Inc. said that, as far as he is concerned, by what he was told, Christian just signed a new contract with the WWE and he's locked up there. Dave Meltzer says, and I quote, as soon as he said Hall of Fame worthy talent, The first person I thought of was Christian, and Christian doesn't have a WWE contract with WWE. So, I don't know who it is. I'm sure he does. But that is a name that popped in my head immediately. Paul White also made a point to say, it's not who you think in regards to the big surprise. If AEW pulls in CM Punk, that would be right up its alley with this huge, huge announcement. But it's also unlikely because Punk was filming Heels, or the Heels show for Stars, the last anybody has heard from him. Again, I don't know how big that factors into it, but Christian Cage is not it either. Christian's not it. Raj said Christian is signed with the WWE. Dave Meltzer is under the impression that Christian is not signed with the WWE. Christian was given a Royal Rumble spot with Edge, who's main eventing WrestleMania against Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. WWE kept Christian off of TV with whatever excuse they had. He was old, he was injured, he was not medically cleared for whatever reason. They had no interest in using Christian. Now, all of a sudden, Christian's back on WWE TV via the Royal Rumble. He's talking about potentially challenging Big E for the IC title. WWE brought him to Pittsburgh specifically to get cleared after all these years. Christian is not about to go and turn his back on WWE after they gave him a platform to come back with them under X amount of money, get in the Royal Rumble, have that moment with Edge in the Royal Rumble, and more than likely be a part of Edge's road to WrestleMania in the last 5 weeks. I don't see it being Christian Cage either. And as far as I'm concerned, from me to you, Christian's not a huge, huge deal. He's not. And not somebody I really care about seeing an AEW match up with anybody. He's not on the level of what this needs to be, like CM Punk. Christian is just another mid-card guy that was out for many, many years and just recently came back for one last gleaming moment in the sun. He offers no impact whatsoever. So it's not Christian Cage. And if it is, that's going to be in the camp of, man, that's disappointing. Another name out there that people are throwing around is Kurt Angle. I don't know why you guys are saying Kurt Angle. Now, if we are to be believed here with what Paul White said, Hall of Fame worthy talent. Worthy means that he's not in the Hall of Fame. Kurt Angle is in the WWE Hall of Fame. Kurt Angle is also not a huge, huge deal in the world of professional wrestling anymore. I don't give a shit who is a fan of Kurt Angle. I don't give a shit if any of AEW's management is a fan of Kurt Angle. I don't give a shit if Tony Khan is a major mark for Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle will result in failure for this major announcement. There is absolutely nobody, if this is the case, nobody out there but Tony Khan who wants to see Kurt Angle wrestle again. There's a reason why WWE didn't use Angle more when he was there, locked up with a WWE contract while he was general manager of Monday Night Raw. They knew the guy can barely walk. And Kurt Angle offers absolutely nothing as far as an in-ring presence for All Elite Wrestling. I don't want to see it. In fact, Kurt Angle being the guy for this big announcement, if he's the big name that they're unveiling on Sunday night, it actually may do more bad than good for AEW, because that's when you start hearing the discussions of AEW is becoming a WWE Legends landfill. Look at Tony Khan throwing his money away on WWE has-beens. Tony Khan cannot afford to bring in Kurt Angle with that type of reception. And that in itself is going to really resonate with a lot of people, as AEW's mission statement pretty much means nothing at that point anyway. You bringing in Kurt Angle is directly opposite of what your mission statement is. Why do we need to give another foundation for these aging legends to come on in and steal spotlight away from younger talent? Why are we funding these guys that WWE didn't want? Why are we funding their nursing home stay? They should be under WWE Legends deals. WWE should be paying them for all the fucking years of service that they broke their fucking body for Vince McMahon or Dixie Carter or Impact or whoever the fuck they wrestled for. You have nothing to do with Kurt Angle. So why are you out there willingly blowing your money on a said rumored Kurt Angle? Absolutely no interest in seeing a fucking Kurt Angle for AEW. I don't want to see him against an Omega. I don't want to see him against a Cody. I don't want to see him against a Jungle Boy. I don't want to see him against an MJF. I don't want to see him against a Jericho. None of those matches make any sense. None. If it's Kurt Angle, I will be legit pissed as an AEW fan. That does not live up to the huge, huge announcement. And the only thing we have to go off on is that Hall of Fame worthy line by Paul White. So just by that, it might not be Kurt Angle. I mentioned Bully Ray, or Bubba Ray. He's been very critical of both WWE products and AEW products. Whether he's talking about NXT or AEW when it comes to the Wednesday night stuff. He's more pro WWE. So that is a red flag in itself. But Bully Ray coming on in, I see him as an on and off guy. I don't see him coming in being a guy that's going to make a legit difference. Will he bring a legit sense of, hey man, this is must see? Yeah, because he commands that type of attention. He brings a level of legitimacy to everything he does because he knows how to carry himself. He's a serious badass motherfucker. But Bully Ray's not going to transcend ratings in the way that AEW wants or needs. He's going to come in and be a guy that is there when he needs to be. And when he's not there, he's going to be fucking shilling himself on Busted Open Radio. So what good does that do if you're only going to get him 25 or 40% of the time? You need somebody that's going to be there to willingly be there every fucking week and get dirty in the trenches with AEW to help them transcend that 1 million plus and make that consistent. Bully Ray's not it. Kurt Angle's not it. Christian's not it. Dave Bautista is not it. He's retired. He got his retirement. John Cena is not it. Brock Lesnar is not it. A lot of people are mentioning RVD. Rob Van Dam. You want Rob Van Dam in AEW after the fucking comedy show that he gave us on Impact Wrestling? With his made of plastic fucking girlfriend, Katie Forbes? That's what you want. You want all the RVD shenanigans with the fucking tits in the face and the whipped cream and the fucking softcore porn that RVD was doing. Hot tubs and liquor and booze and marijuana. That's what you want on AEW television. To me, that's a fucking joke. Is RVD Hall of Fame worthy? Absolutely. RVD is an innovator. RVD's presence is still being felt today. RVD is a legend that many people aspire to be, watch growing up, to idolize over, and use his repertoire in today's product. But RVD is not even close to being a huge star. He was never a huge star like we need in this situation. The guy's a Hall of Famer. The guy has a worthy spot waiting for him in the Hall of Fame. But if RVD is one of Tony Khan's favorite wrestlers, like a lot of people are mentioning on social media, and he ends up being the announcement on Sunday night, that will be met with laughter and disappointment. RVD is not going to make a major impact on AEW television. Outside of that, the only other person I could possibly think of is Paul White. Paul White could be the announcement. Paul White could be talking about Paul White. Big Show's not in the Hall of Fame. Or he might be. I have no idea. But he could be talking about himself. He could be talking about himself. And that is something that Tony Khan cannot have happen either. Because all this hype surrounding, and then Paul White's going to end up being the announcement that he announced himself on Wednesday night on Sunday. That would be the ultimate slap in the face to everybody that purchased that show. I'm telling you, folks, AEW needs to deliver on this comment. They need to deliver on this announcement. You know, I am well over this CM Punk talk. I really am. But if it's CM Punk, A, I'm a happy guy. B, finally. And if it's not, everybody else that I mentioned is going to be a complete disappointment. I heard Ryback's name being thrown out there as well. No, it's not Ryback. He's another one that I'm looking at my notes here. I made a list of everybody. I didn't even want to mention him because he's fucking terrible. Ryback is not it. Ryback's not a Hall of Famer. Ryback is not going to make a lick of a difference in AEW. And Ryback clearly doesn't deserve that type of platform because Ryback's a fucking bitch. Ryback's a fucking pussy. He's hated. After all the shit that he said and all the shit that he did with Mark Henry and all the fucking death threats to Dave Meltzer and all this shit, you want to hire that guy? The world will be a better place if Dave Meltzer was 6 feet under. That's the type of guy you want to hire? It's either Punk or bust. What it cannot be, Mr. Khan, is you throwing your money around for WWE has-beens that should stay retired. You got more than enough talent on that show that you should be focusing on and not worrying about bringing in other talent that is well beyond their expiration date. I don't need you as a fan, because I'm a lot smarter than a lot of people watching professional wrestling nowadays. I don't need you throwing your fucking money around, pretending like you're Vince McMahon Jr. and having your own little personal toy collection. Let me tell you something, boss man. Vince McMahon already played the shit out of those toys. And right now, what you're getting are refurbished versions that I don't think anybody wants to see anymore. They deserve to be in the toy bin. Retired. Put away. Never to be seen again. Not even the new kids. The younger kids want to play with those older toys because they think the same way that I do. They want something new. They want something fresh. They want something that is going to invigorate the fans to watch the show every single week. Kurt Angle, Christian Cage, RVD, Ryback, Big Show. Those aren't the guys that we want to see on television well beyond their expiration date. I don't want to see you throw your money around to fucking fund these guys and their medical bills and their old age home for fucking medical bills and their whatever. Oh, because WWE refused to fucking keep them afloat, now you're coming in to fucking be Mr. Superman? There's a reason why WWE doesn't want to pay these guys. That should be all the fucking reason you need to not pay them. They're not beneficial to your product. Worry about the youth that you have on this roster. You don't need any more aging legends. That's the one thing we complain about WWE. They give all the time to the fucking 40 plus, 45, 50 plus, and they don't give the opportunities to the Andrades and the Murphys and the Apollos and the Aleister Blacks, the Ricochets. That's what you want to become? You want the entire aura of AEW to be WWE has been landfill fucking AEW. It's not what I want. You're quickly moving away from that original mission statement. I don't need you doing any of this. It's either Punk or bust. That is it. I don't know who the fuck you got. And I'm not setting myself up like these geeks in the community because I have been taught to tread very lightly when things like this are being teased and discussed. If I go into fucking Revolution and I think, hey man, it's fucking Batista or John Cena or Brock Lesnar or CM Punk and I get fucking RVD, it's not really a good look as far as me being a fan of your product. You need to deliver. I don't give a shit who it is. It needs to deliver on this huge, huge announcement. It needs to be something that WWE is going to be watching, and the reaction from WWE is going to be like, oh shit, they finally did it. They finally did it. They unveiled it. Now we're in trouble. Now we're in trouble. I don't know what you got planned, but if it's anything but CM Punk, if it doesn't live up to that big name, you're in big trouble. Like I said, AEW is also planning another surprise for Revolution in that ladder match. I am going on to say that it is Ethan Page signing with AEW. Jesse came to me and said something about Flip Gordon. He thinks it will be Flip Gordon. I don't know. I don't know. That's probably something stemming from being the elite, but I'm going with Ethan Page because he's been a free agent since the beginning of the year. And I know that Cody has had his eye on Ethan Page, and I think it will be Ethan Page. I think Ethan Page as a singles, I don't know how that's going to resonate with people. I know Josh Alexander, his tag team partner in the North, they made a fantastic duo. So we'll see what happens there. But Alexander is still with Impact, I believe, for another year. So Ethan Page might be the first to join AEW, and I think he will be in that ladder match. AEW ratings. They destroyed NXT with Shaq and Cody Rhodes. I mentioned this on Wednesday. Shaq, I love the fact that Shaq came in there and knew that he had to put on a show. He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. He even took a devastating table bump with Cody Rhodes on the show. That I can appreciate. I was worried about Shaq just like I was worried about Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee shut us all up. Good for him. I'm glad he did. I'm glad these guys come on in and they know what the fuck they're doing. I'm glad Pat McAfee comes in and has this in his head. Hey, I got to shut these fans up. They don't know what the fuck they're in for. Said the same thing about Shaq. I was worried. Shaq is not nimble like Mr. Pat McAfee. And he passed the test with flying colors. The other thing I was also worried about is Jade Cargill. She had not one lick of fucking in-ring presence at all. She has the look. She has the it factor. She has a great physique. It's all got to gel in the ring. And she also passed the test. A first test with flying colors. She's obviously still green as grass, but they need to really get behind Jade Cargill. I'm surprised WWE passed on Jade Cargill. That could be the missing piece for AEW to really take their women's division to the next level. She has everything that they could possibly want from a female. AEW destroys NXT in the ratings. 934,000 average viewers. Meanwhile, NXT brought in 692. AEW was up 103,000 from last week's average of 831. NXT dropped 42,000 viewers from last week's 734. Dynamite featured the highly anticipated in-ring debut of Shaquille O'Neal with Jade Cargill as his partner. They defeated Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet ahead of a Revolution. I was going to say Evolution. I'm fucking Paul White now. Revolution. This was the go-home show for that. On NXT, there were several announcements made for next week's show. Finn Balor will defend the NXT title against Adam Cole. Io Shirai is going to defend the NXT women's title against my boo, Toni Storm. And we have a major announcement by William Regal. Nobody knows what that announcement is. It could be for the women's tag team titles. Whatever happened in that tag team match with Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, Shayna, and Nia, because it was a fuck finish. And Adam Pearce was on the show arguing with William Regal. It could be about that. I don't know if that's going to be a big announcement. They're hyping it up as a big announcement. It could be about the inclusion of the women's tag team titles. That situation, the ending of that match could birth NXT just coming up with their own women's championships. And I don't like that idea. I think the women's championships on the main roster should be something that is defended on all three brands. And if you want to take the women's championships from the main roster and keep them on NXT for a little bit, that's probably the best way to go. So I don't know if this announcement by William Regal has women's tag team championship implications behind it, or it could be the fact that WWE is officially going to announce that they're moving to Tuesday nights with NXT after WrestleMania. Could be any one of those situations. We'll have to wait and find out what happens on NXT. NXT was very good this week. Very good. That match with Balor and Strong was awesome. I thought the Johnny Gargano stuff with the psychiatrist, Austin Theory, Indy Hartwell, and Candice LeRae, I thought that was great stuff. I'm not really feeling this Cameron Grimes. I gotta get me some fucking money when I do the Cameron Grimes bet. He's mentioning Ted DiBiase. I don't know what he's doing, but I think we see Ted DiBiase at least somewhere in these Cameron Grimes vignettes or whatever Cameron Grimes doing with this new gimmick. But the Johnny Gargano stuff was fucking great. I love the way it was filmed. Balor versus Strong. We got that being a great match. Other than that, there really wasn't much on NXT that I really cared about. The women's tag team titles, they should have went to Raquel and Gonzalez and Dakota Kai after the ending. It made me think to myself, man, this was a waste of time. I don't know why you just don't do the right decision when the right decision needs to be made. Why are you prolonging this? I don't get it. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler aren't even a real team. You got Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez just winning the women's Dusty final, and you don't want to reward them. They've been one of the best acts in that women's division for the better part of a year. So why are you inviting Nia and Shayna down there if you're not going to get the job done? Cody Rhodes, his response to NXT moving to Tuesday night. He says this on a conference call for Revolution. Cody Rhodes was asked about NXT's move to Tuesday nights, and I quote, "If we're no longer going to be opposed on Wednesday nights, I'm sure we'll come up with some sort of wonderful statement. Congratulations to NXT on a successful move to Tuesday nights. The real winners are the fans who can watch NXT and Dynamite live every week, as this is a marathon, not a one-night sprint." I can say that, but I don't want to be sassy or a jerk, because with them moving, perhaps something else will be on Wednesday nights. Not only that, AEW Dark is on Tuesday, so AEW Dark will potentially be opposed. So that's why we can't be in a matter of getting reactionary. We just have to put out the best show possible. We really do. And if they want to beat us, they have to put on a better show. It's honest competition. Yeah, there are digs, and they're fun, they're lighthearted, believe me. All the locker rooms tend to love each other. It's more the management that is pointed at one another. And even that, there's a friendly relationship. Tony's a different type of management person, a different type of executive. I would love for us to be alone on Wednesday nights, but I'm prepared for something else in that spot, so we will see. AEW is going to have NHL competition on Wednesday nights, because that's why NXT is moving to Tuesday nights. If there was no NHL and NBC Universal didn't shut down NBC Sports, NXT would still remain on Wednesday nights. Cody Rhodes gave a proper statement in regards to NXT moving to Tuesday nights. That's a done deal. The move to Tuesday nights is a done deal within the USA Network. I talked about this on Wednesday with Jesse. This is great for everybody involved. It's great for the growth of NXT. It's great for the growth of AEW. It's great for you and I. I don't want to watch. I don't know how many did it anyway. I don't want to watch both shows on different times. I want to watch NXT at 8. I want to come on here live, talk about NXT, and be done with it. I want to watch AEW on Wednesday nights. I want to be done with it after Wednesday night. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I got to go back and watch NXT, and I save it for Thursday nights while I'm laying in bed. Turn on the WWE Network, commercial free. NXT's there on the WWE Network, 8 p.m. every single week. I usually go to bed late in the night. Turn on WWE Network, fall asleep with it on. I can't wait for them to move to Tuesday night. The growth for both brands is going to be seen instantaneously. I don't know why you would want to compete with AEW on the same night and then actively ruin your viewership. NXT is now going to be in the 800 to 900,000 range. AEW is going to be in the 900 to 1 million range. More people are going to be apt to watch AEW on its night and not have to worry about NXT and vice versa. The Wednesday Night War was fabricated by the dirt sheets. They wanted something that was going to resemble Monday Night Raw and WCW Nitro back in the 90s. It never ended up being that way. A minuscule portion of those ratings even were comparable to what Monday Night Raw and WCW were doing back in the Attitude Era. There was no war. AEW won the war single-handedly if we're going to base this thing on weekly ratings. I didn't give a fuck about the war. I just want NXT to go back to the NXT that I loved when Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano were fucking lighting up NXT with the NXT title on the line. That's the NXT that I want. That NXT ceased to exist in this war with AEW. The war only killed NXT. So I'm glad they're moving to Tuesday nights. Is NXT going to go back to doing what they did 2 or 3 years ago? I hope so. I hope so. You got nothing stopping you now. You got nothing opposing you. You don't got to worry about AEW. There's no direct competition. But the aspect of war is always going to remain. Then it's going to be, instead of competing on the same night, oh, look at NXT's ratings. They beat AEW in the ratings on Tuesday compared to what AEW did on Wednesday. Enough. NXT moving to Tuesday nights is absolutely best for business. Best for business. And it gives me an extra payday on Tuesday nights. So I'm a little extra giddy compared to the actual casual wrestling fan. Love it. I've been waiting for this since NXT moved to the USA Network. Like I said, NXT booked a loaded card for next week. Xia Li facing Kaden Carter. Balor will defend the NXT title against Adam Cole. And Toni Storm will challenge Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship with a major announcement coming from William Regal. Obviously, Dynamite is going to have the post-Revolution edition of Dynamite. No matches have been announced, but I'm sure we will find out as soon as Revolution is in the books. NXT news, Wes Lee of MSK is injured. He broke his hand during TakeOver Vengeance Day on a dive. Meltzer says, in regards to Wes Lee did have a broken hand. He got it in the tag team match with the grizzled young veterans, who are definitely one of the best tag teams in the world, on TakeOver Vengeance Day on one of his dives. That's why there's no tag team title match with Lorcan and Birch immediately for the titles. That was originally scheduled for Wednesday's show, but he is hurt. The injury angle that they did on TV last week was to cover up the real injury. Casey Catanzaro, as I mentioned last week, is also out with a possible broken leg. She was wearing a leg brace. Obviously, with the Xia Li attack, that was to cover up her real injury. Asuka, she lost a tooth. I'm throwing this in there because there was a lot of injuries from WWE this past couple of weeks. Shayna Baszler kicked Asuka so stiff that she knocked out a tooth, and Asuka even suffered a concussion from the tooth as well. Or the kick, I should say, losing the tooth from Shayna Baszler. So Wes Lee is injured, and MSK, man, very high on MSK. They are your new tag team champions. I got to correct myself. Last week I said that Breezango were the NXT tag team champions. This is how much I don't care about NXT, man. It's fucking sad. I did not even realize that Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch were the NXT tag team champions. I accidentally said Breezango. So I apologize to everybody that was correcting me in the comment section of last week's video. So there you go. I saw your comments and I addressed your concerns. SmackDown ratings stay steady post-Elimination Chamber. Friday's episode, not this past Friday, not yesterday, but the week prior, 2.051 million viewers. That was down from the previous week of 2.071 million viewers. This was the post-Elimination Chamber show. It also pulled in an average of 0.50 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, which was number 2 for the night. That is the same from the 0.5 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic the show did last week. SmackDown was in the middle of the pack for the night amongst viewership. It was behind 2020, Magnum PI, Blue Bloods, Shark Tank, Dateline NBC, and other series among the top shows on network television. Jey Uso and Daniel Bryan were the main event, with Daniel Bryan trying to win a shot at Roman Reigns and the Universal Championship. Obviously, Jey Uso did the job, but WWE is booking the match yet again on Friday Night SmackDown. I'm hoping low-key that Daniel Bryan does not win the match. I do not want Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns to main event Fastlane, but it would be a throwback to their first meeting at Fastlane all these years later. I just think Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns deserves an actual pay-per-view. If you're not doing it at Mania, which we know now is Edge versus Roman, I do think it's best saved for sometime later in the year. Because Roman's going to need opponents. If he loses the title at WrestleMania, he's going to win it back, and Roman is going to be the champion before the end of the year ends anyway. So Daniel Bryan is definitely a guy that could get 3 pay-per-view matches at least out of Roman Reigns. Throw a Cesaro in there. You could give him a nice rub as well for a couple of pay-per-views. Then you got yourself a 5-month buffer to come up with who else is going to be fed to Roman Reigns. So the SmackDown ratings were steady. Wasn't really all that good of a show. Entertaining. But Roman Reigns, how many weeks can we say Roman Reigns is carrying this show? It's the same shit every week. Apollo Crews finally came out and gave us his new heel shtick. He's got a nice little scarf. He's Nigerian royalty. This is the Apollo Crews that I've wanted to see for years. And we're finally getting it. And the storyline with Big E is one of the best things on WWE television, probably number 2 behind whatever Roman Reigns is doing. So Apollo Crews is finally becoming his own on SmackDown. And like I said earlier, I would not hesitate to give him the IC title. He cut a great promo on SmackDown. This is the Apollo Crews I was behind him already because I was just an Apollo Crews guy. I thought he was great in the ring. I thought the potential was untapped. But what he's doing now, this is the Apollo Crews I could absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, get behind on SmackDown. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at my watch, my imaginary watch, my phone. And I'm saying to myself, man, I'm making good time. I thought there was so much news. I got it all done in an adequate amount of time. And we may end up like we usually do around that 2 hour and 10 minute mark. We're about an hour and 40 minutes in now. And then I get this gem on social media. So I click the link and it takes me to the news site. And I see this one. Listen to this before we get into the Monday Night Raw stuff. Backstage news on WWE banning thigh slapping. You know, when everybody does a super kick, or Drew McIntyre, for example, does the Claymore kick, that slapping sound when you go and kick somebody in the ring. WWE's banning thigh slapping. Titus knows the thing about chicken thighs, but I'm not talking about Titus Catering. I'm talking about thigh slapping in the ring. Some backstage news has now been revealed regarding WWE reportedly banning wrestlers from thigh slapping during matches. Wrestlers slapping their thighs has become popular with moves such as super kicks to make them sound more impactful. There's often a bit of misconception that it's a new wrestling phenomenon, which it is not. According to Dave Meltzer in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, WWE is now fining talents for thigh slapping. There was said to be a memo sent out to NXT talent informing them of the rule, but nothing said anything beyond that. Fightful has added to this news article, and they're reporting that there was a sign up at WWE events last week that stated, and I quote, "No thigh slapping," written on it in big, bold letters. This memo was reportedly sent out in February. Vince, Bruce, let me get this straight. Let me get this straight, Bruce, Vince, and whatever fucking management geek there is that is in WWE. You are worried about thigh slapping. On top of all the other issues that I constantly address every single week, you're worried about thigh slapping. How many people actually pay attention to the thigh slapping? That it is now an issue where it needs to be stated in big, bold letters on a sign in the locker room. You mean to tell me that the creative is not number one priority on your show? You mean to tell me the fact that you're withholding information from talents before WrestleMania, talents and creative writers, I should say, before WrestleMania? That's not a top issue right now with you, but thigh slapping is. What about the overbearing fucking produced and mechanical and robotic commentary on your fucking shows that span not only Raw, SmackDown, but now have bled into NXT? That's not a fucking priority to you. What about the overall polish and shine of these shows where it's just very unnatural and organic? That's not a problem for you. Or here's a good one. How about with 5 weeks till WrestleMania, there's absolutely nothing about the card that we could surmise that makes it WrestleMania-esque? How about all the future that you've just gone and buried every single week? That's not a fucking problem for you, but fucking thigh slapping is. And I'm sure there are a myriad of fucking situations that I'm missing here, but I just don't fucking care to reiterate because there's so many. But thigh slapping is an issue, Bruce, Vince, Carano, Hayes, and whatever else is fucking backstage in WWE that's slowly killing this product. Great. There you got it, folks. WWE's priority. Let's put up a fucking memo plastered in the locker room. No thigh slapping. That'll fucking fix our issues. Give me a fucking break with this shit. Will you fucking stop? Monday Night Raw. The ratings are in for Monday night. Bobby Lashley wins the WWE title. They failed to break a 2.0. According to Showbuzz Daily, the episode drew an average of 1.884 million viewers on the USA Network. This is down from 1.889 just a week ago. The 18 to 49 demo saw hour one with a 0.58, 0.60, and a 0.57 in hour three. So they kind of remain steady, but we're down as usual in the third hour. Hourly breakdown is as follows: 1.918, 1.916, and then 1.817. So there you go. The WWE's tactic about Miz prolonging his title inevitability, did that work for WWE? Clearly not. It has nothing to do with Bobby Lashley or the way you book shit. Nobody cares for Monday Night Raw because it's the same fucking show every single week. There's nothing about it or its roster that people care about. I am tired of complaining about it. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus had a fantastic match. Why wasn't that match booked on Fastlane? How's Drew McIntyre going to gain entry into the WWE title match, which we all know he's going to be a part of? Bobby Lashley won the title after not one, not two, but three different opportunities. Miz had stomach cramps. He must have ate something bad from Titus Catering. Then he just runs out of the ring. Steals the title, runs out of the ring like he's carrying around the 24/7 title. Great. So not only did you devalue the title by giving it to The Miz in the first place, but then you have him booked as a comedy champion similar to R-Truth. I don't know how that works in the long run for the WWE title. Then we got the Hurt Business, Cedric and Shelton challenging Adam Pearce and Braun Strowman because Shane McMahon ordered the match happening. Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman seem to be likely for WrestleMania. Charlotte Flair, no sells for Shayna Baszler. What else do you want to know about Monday Night Raw? Great. Damian Priest versus Elias for about 15 minutes. I mean, do you want me to go on and on? Am I putting you to sleep yet? Don't worry, it'll be Monday again, and I'll be doing the same thing on next week's fucking shows. Show sucks. Bobby Lashley won the title. Great. What are we doing now? Is Drew getting the title back in front of fans? Or is WWE going to be in the mindset like the fans are that we're done with Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley really deserves a nice run with the title? Give me a break. Bobby Lashley's win was big for WWE, not in the ratings, but on social media. As of this writing, the YouTube video alone of Bobby Lashley finally winning the WWE title has 1.1 million views. Probably more than that, probably upwards towards 3 million as I took this in the beginning of the week. That was easily the most viewed video from Monday Night Raw. Even the Bad Bunny videos were dwarfed by Bobby Lashley's title win. One Bad Bunny video of a backstage segment had 96K as of this writing, and the match where he stood at ringside was just over 223,000 of whatever it usually gets. Usually he's in the millions, but I mean, just like everybody else, nobody gives a fuck about Elias versus Damian Priest. The video also has of Bobby Lashley 43,000 thumbs up and only 2.5K thumbs down. This is a good ratio, but it's still a lot of engagement for WWE. It was also trending when it was on YouTube at number 7 during the beginning of the week. Bobby Lashley's title win was a huge moment in his career, and it's changed the course of WrestleMania with him as WWE champion. And now it appears Drew McIntyre is going to face Bobby Lashley for the title. And Lesnar, a lot of Lesnar talk. Lashley mentioned Lesnar. Hey, Brock, where you at? I got something that might interest you now. They don't do that by purpose, on purpose. They do that all by design. Corey Graves mentioned something again on the podcast. Lesnar's name's been trending. Everybody wants the match. And you all know Vince McMahon. Bobby Lashley said something as the WWE champion, mind you. Corey Graves, again for second week in a row, said something. Vince is not going to allow these WWE personalities to go out there and book matches that he's not in the mindset about. He's not going to have Bobby Lashley go out there and mention Brock Lesnar, Corey Graves go out there and mention Brock Lesnar if he's not already thinking about the match or the possible inclusion. I know somewhere Vince McMahon's thinking Brock Lesnar. Somewhere in this company, they got to be thinking, we got to make WrestleMania bigger. Because it looks like a fucking D-level pay-per-view the way it's currently set up for April 10 and April 11. Vince is not going to allow these guys to book a match that he has no intention of booking. Fan response to Brock Lesnar coming back was wild because of Bobby Lashley. I'm all for it. It's new, it's fresh, we've never seen it before. Even if it's a triple threat match, you get that Brock and Lashley dynamic. You got the Lashley and Drew McIntyre dynamic stemming from what happened here with the Elimination Chamber. You got your Drew Lesnar situation stemming from last year. It all works. It's a beautiful fucking chaotic circle. Go pay the guy what he wants and stop these ridiculous AEW rumors. Lashley also revealed what Vince McMahon's reaction was when he walked through the curtain with the WWE title. He spoke to Fox Sports and, what's his name over there? The emo, fuck, shitty haircut-looking fucking ghoul, cretin, gremlin that works for Fox Sports. You guys know who he is. What's his name? I forgot. All I remember is that Bella Danger sounds like a proper name to correlate with this individual, right? I know Bella Danger's a beautiful woman, but I mean, I don't think I'd be stalking her in a fucking Whole Foods while I'm looking for organic broccoli. I do it better than you, you fucking geek. Remember that. Anyway, my pettiness out of the way there. Fox Sports. Bobby Lashley says this: when I was able to go through that curtain after winning the WWE Championship and gave Vince a hug, he grabbed me and he held me for a while and was like, man, I'm proud of you. You're not here to have fun. Vince doesn't want you to have fun. Vince wants to get in an argument with you because you're fighting for something that you want. Vince wants you to step out of that box and do something bigger. So where is everybody else doing this? I mean, if you're a youngster on this roster, Bobby Lashley is quoted saying that, you better get your fucking ass arguing with Vince McMahon. Seriously. Show some balls. Where the fuck are you, Ricochet? Huh? I love you, though, bro. Maybe AEW's calling your name in about 4 years. You're not here to have fun. Vince wants you to want WrestleMania so much that the crowd forces them to give you that title. I think I started to get into that point last year. Several months, definitely, into this Hurt Business thing. I've been mean, man. I've been mean. I go out there with a vengeance, and there's a whole lot of confidence running through me. End quote. Listen, man, I'll be the first to admit I've been calling Bobby Lashley Bobby Trashley, well-deserved, before the pandemic hit. Then the pandemic hit and the Hurt Business was formed, and they easily became the best thing about Monday Night Raw. Not perfect by any means, but Bobby Lashley's been booked like a beast. He's never been booked better in his entire WWE career. So am I happy he's WWE champion? Much better than the fucking Miz. In some instances, probably better than Drew McIntyre too, because Drew McIntyre was getting a little bit boring, though I'm a big Drew McIntyre guy. I think he's a great pro wrestler. But WWE wasn't doing anything with that title run. To give Bobby Lashley the title now, the way he's been booked, it just makes sense. On that show, it just makes sense. Charlotte Flair. I don't believe we got to talk about androids and robots on the podcast, but it seems inevitable that we got to talk about Charlotte Flair because she will be challenging for the Raw Women's Championship. Undeserved, by the way, at WrestleMania. She actually pitched to work with Andrade on WWE TV. And you know what? I'm actually for this idea. It's much better than fucking Lacey Evans and Ric Flair. At least she'll be doing some good, finally, Miss Flair. Charlotte Flair has pitched to work with Andrade. It's been reported that Paul Heyman was behind pushes of Andrade, Ricochet, Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Humberto. Carrillo on Monday Night Raw. Most of the names haven't been used the same way since Heyman left his creative position, and Mr. Slob Redface, Bruce Pritchard, took over that position. Charlotte Flair, who is in a relationship with Andrade, engaged to be exact, was asked during an interview with TV Insider whether she would be open to working with her fiance on television. It turns out that Flair has pitched this to WWE officials, but it hasn't happened yet. Wow! Charlotte Flair turned down from a creative idea? I'm thoroughly shocked. What does that say about Andrade, though? That WWE doesn't value Andrade enough for Charlotte Flair, who is the golden goose, the golden blonde, who gets everything she wants. Bow down to the queen! Bow down to the queen! You know, she gets everything she wants because she's blonde. And she's a Flair, which is the basis of her career. She's worked for nothing. She could have walked in possessing the same ability that she has now without the Flair name. Would she have 14 title reigns? She'd be lucky to have one. Give me a break. She says, and I quote, I actually pitched that. I would be very open to that. I've done a lot in my career. But nobody has seen me in an on-cam relationship or in that light. I can come across cold on TV. Listen, honey, the show itself is fucking cold when you're on, so I know exactly what you're talking about. End quote. WrestleVotes reported that there has been an idea, this was back in December, an idea that was discussed that Flair and Andrade paired on television when they returned together. That obviously did not happen, and Flair returned to win the women's tag team titles with Asuka, which did not make any sense whatsoever. So that is something that was supposed to happen. It did not, and it would have worked wonders for Andrade's career, but Charlotte finally did not get her way. Seems like Andrade is in the fucking doghouse, folks. Andrade's WWE career, as far as we see it, from what we see, is over. Is over. Move the guy back down to NXT or just get rid of him. Have him go back to Japan and let him do his thing. He's too good to be wasted like this. Same with Ricochet and same with Black. WWE wants to build for the future. Clearly, they don't give a fuck about the future. Damian Priest, why he got a long match on Monday Night Raw with Elias. Meltzer talked about this on The Observer. He says, and I quote, they think that the longer Bad Bunny is out there, that more Hispanics are going to watch. This is his words exactly, folks. This is his words from The Observer exactly. He added, he does do well on YouTube. He does really well on YouTube. End quote. So we're going to have more Bad Bunny on TV in matches that are included with Damian Priest. The inclusion of Damian Priest is a good thing, but not 15 minutes with Elias. I don't give a fuck who Bad Bunny is and what he brings to WWE television. I don't give a fuck about the demographics of the ratings when he's on. Nobody gives a fuck. They've already scooped up his t-shirt and they're waiting for a dive off the top rope at WrestleMania. Get him the fuck out of there. Is it going to help Priest? Very minuscule. Damian Priest is better for it now because now people know who Damian Priest is. It's, like I usually say, it's up to WWE to follow up. Will they follow up on Damian Priest? Probably not. He'll end up like EC3. Probably not that bad, but he'll end up like Ricochet. Give me a break. Damian Priest has the potential to be a guy that could be a champion on this show. Let's start building him that way after Bad Bunny goes and hops around in the fucking forest somewhere looking for more multi-million-dollar commercial contracts. WWE officials were pleased with Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. This was also reported in The Observer. The match went about 24 minutes and received praise from fans on social media for the quality. Fightful reported, additionally, that those WWE higher-ups talked about this and were pleased with the match, noting that Sheamus's in-ring work has been on a hot streak as of late. It was said that a large portion of the match was called in the ring as well. Sheamus is awesome. Sheamus is great. Drew McIntyre is great, but McIntyre, I think, has lost a little bit of luster due to WWE booking and the fact that we're still in the middle of a fucking pandemic. And Sheamus, I mean, WWE hasn't booked him the way that he needs. His in-ring work is one thing. The way he's been booked is another. He can have great matches, but the creative is not great. So from what I see, Sheamus may be one of the best in-ring performers of recent memory as of late, consistently on Monday Night Raw, but that doesn't mean he deserves to be in a fucking title match at WrestleMania. He still comes off like a mid-card act due to their creative blunders. But the match was great. Why didn't the match happen at Fastlane? How's Drew McIntyre going to get into the title match at WrestleMania? I don't know. Are they going to run this back again? If they do, what are we going to see differently compared to what we've seen on Monday Night Raw? This is what I don't get. You put that type of match that should be on pay-per-view on Raw for what? There was nothing on the line. What exactly were they fighting for? Why couldn't Drew come back and squash somebody in a decent 6-7 minute match? Why did we need Sheamus in that moment on that night when we all know that was the match for Fastlane? Man, what I'd do if I was booking this show. Fucking ridiculous. Where does WWE go from here to WrestleMania with McIntyre? I don't know. We're just going to put him in the title match? Wow, man. I would not be surprised if that's the fucking case. You wasted the Chamber and Fastlane to put this guy in the main event of WrestleMania. I use that loosely. I would not make it a main event if it's just McIntyre Lashley. You guys know that. You just put him in the match. How's he getting there? What has he done? He lost the title. Fair and square, if you ask me. Back to the line. Or back in the line, I should say. In line, back to the line for Drew McIntyre. I don't get it. WWE is fucking ridiculous with their logic, man. And finally, WWE is right now working with an injured Ali. Mustafa Ali did a Q&A on Twitter. He revealed on Twitter that he was wrestling while injured. It happened when he was asked about his biggest frustration, which right now is wrestling with a torn PCL. He wrote the following: "It's right now, actually, I'm wrestling with a torn PCL and it's incredibly frustrating." He worked a very short fatal four-way match with John Morrison, Elias, and Ricochet at the Elimination Chamber. He lost. John Morrison won that, and he won the right to go challenge Bobby Lashley for the United States title with Matt Riddle at the Elimination Chamber. He also wrestled Matt Riddle on Monday Night Raw, which, I mean, is another blunder in itself. Matt Riddle is just 2 weeks removed from the Elimination Chamber, and he's already losing his first match out as United States Champion to Ali, who leads a group that is a fucking comedy show on Monday Night Raw. Does nothing remain prestigious to you fucking people? So I don't know if that's the direction for the United States title, but apparently it seems to be the case. Because Ali beat Matt Riddle. I'm assuming he's going to ask for a title match. What show is coming up? Fastlane? Could be a Fastlane. Then what does Riddle do at WrestleMania? Do we get Keith Lee? Where is Keith Lee? It's another question, man. I just opened up a whole new can of worms with that question. Where is Keith Lee? The limited one, Keith Lee. Where is he? Is he going to be at WrestleMania? We could see Riddle versus Keith Lee at WrestleMania. No idea, man. No idea. Ali deserves better than fucking leading Retribution and working with a torn PCL. I feel bad for the fucking guy, man. Nothing seems to be going right for Mustafa Ali. Guys, I'm getting the hell out of here. I appreciate you sticking with me. If you made it this far, leave me a comment down below using the hashtag. Let's see. What are we using for the hashtag? Not my WrestleMania. There you go. Not my WrestleMania. Use the hashtag not my WrestleMania if you made it this far, man. I want to see how many people stayed with me through the entire show. If you guys want to check out all the other content on the channel, please go and do that. Link is down below for everything you need in the description. Follow me on Twitter at JD206. That's Twitter and Instagram. Go and follow Critiques and Connoisseurs on Twitter as well. That is down in the description. Go and subscribe to the Critiques and Connoisseurs YouTube channel. That is up and running. We got episode 2 up as of right now with Ortiz of the Inner Circle, AEW superstar Ortiz of Proud and Powerful. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button to this very channel, and I will see you all right back here on Sunday night for the Revolution post-show on Off the Script. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up as well on your way out the door. And I will see you guys right back here on Sunday night, man. Thank you for a great weekend, guys. Thank you for a great week of content. I'll see you on the post-show for Revolution. We will find out who this big name, Hall of Fame worthy name is I hope to God Tony Khan knows what he's doing and he doesn't let us down. See you guys later.